Hello and welcome to this Red Gamer Tech video. Myself, Marto. As always, I'm here with the latest from the tech world in the last 24 or so hours. So what goodies do I bring you, my friends, on this very fine Friday? Well, we've got something pretty damn cool to start off with from Amazon. And no, it's not regarding Graviton, it's something completely different. Now, one of the key problems, or not problems really, but the key barriers, I suppose, is a better word to use for someone they're first going from a console gamer to a PC gamer, or if they're jumping straight to PC gaming or whatever, is obviously just knowing what to get for your rig, especially if you're buying parts then for your friend to put together or whatever. You need to know not only what's good, but obviously what works well together. You're not necessarily going to know that, this motherboard doesn't work with that processor, that sort of stuff. And what we have is definitely something that is a work in progress from Amazon, but they seem to be rolling out a new part finder tool to check the compatibility of PC parts. Now, I say it's new because, well, it's fairly obviously new. It is only showing up on some product pages. For example, you're not going to see it on a GTX 1080 from MSI, for instance, but you are going to see it on an SSD elsewhere. And it isn't as fully featured as other PC part pickers. Obviously, there are other sites that do this, like that very same one I just name dropped. This is not the only one in existence, but obviously Amazon is probably one of the most popular places to buy just stuff, not even PC parts, just stuff. Anyway, even though it is clearly in its infancy and clearly needs a lot of work, for example, there's a couple of examples of parts that do work well together that are showing as incompatible. It is really cool that they're rolling this out, and if they can really get it all fleshed out and all working correctly, and on not every piece of hardware, because that's a bit insane, but on like the mainstays, the stuff that most people are going to be searching for, that would be really cool. At least you can know without having to ask your tech-savvy friend if the parts that you're buying actually go together. At the moment, it is still in its infancy. I wouldn't rely on it too heavily right now. I just kind of want to draw attention to it because I just think this is really cool that they're doing this. Anyway, we're going to move on to a bit of a sort of dampener now with the PS5. So you may have seen some leaks floating around the internet regarding the PlayStation 5. There were allegedly prototype images of the next-gen console from Sony, which of course we have heard nothing official other than the fact that it is a thing that exists, which is not really news in itself. Anyway, so we saw these particular images over the last few days, circling around, doing the rounds, but they're actually based on a concept render from a tech blog, and a Russian tech site basically used these renders, which were done in collaboration with the Benami Spell Computer Museum, to be like, hey, this is a leak, wink. And so, yeah, these were created as a concept, again, by the Benami Spell Computer Museum. And those leaks, just a touch fake, my friends, I'm afraid. But not exactly surprising. For every leak that we heard 6 months ago that turns out to be true, there's 10 more that were never made the news because they were so ridiculous, and then there's 5 more that did make the news but then turned out to be just wrong. Just purely wrong. Anyway, we're going to move on from that to a little something, or a couple of somethings actually, to be more precise, from AMD. So the first thing I have for you from AMD is actually something regarding their drivers. Now, of course, not too long ago we had a very significant update with the Radeon software with the Adrenalin edition, and now we have another new version coming, the Radeon software Adrenalin 2019 edition. It is going to be coming out in mid-December for some reason, even though it's called 2019, but I suppose 2 weeks is like, hey, getting a touch pedantic now. Anyway, so naturally, as with any update of this nature, it brings to the party an actual metric ton of changes and updates. So I'm not going to bore you by sitting here going through them all, but what I am going to do is go through what I would call the key parts, the cliff notes. I love some cliff notes. Long-time viewers will know that I love me some cliff notes. Anyway, so the first thing that we wanted to talk about here is actually called Whatman, and give some new overclocking capabilities, such as one-click overclocking, which is something that, of course, I have discussed many times. Now, Nvidia recently announced not too long ago that they're working on something similar, so clearly AMD did not want to be left behind here. And according to the sources of videocards.com, this new Adrenalin version is going to support undervolting, so fully automatic undervolting. And given how prevalent this particular topic of discussion was not too long ago, you can kind of understand why AMD have given people the capability to do that within the Radeon software itself. But I would say the most interesting thing out of those lots is the one-click overclocking. Now, obviously, for your real hardcore overclockers, they're still going to want to tweak every single aspect of their overclock. 1 or 2% can really make the difference if you're trying to push each piece of what you have going on as much as you can without obviously causing stability issues and that sort of thing. But for people who just want to, set it and forget it, one-click overclocking is definitely something I can get behind. So, we also have something called Hey Radeon, which is basically the ability to give voice commands, very simple voice commands to your graphics card, but only in English or Chinese. We don't know what you can ask it to do. I highly doubt you can ask it to make you a bacon sandwich, although that would be lovely. And some of them definitely feel like they get hot enough to make you a bacon sandwich. But it can do stuff like display the FPS or take a screenshot, stuff like that. I highly doubt many of you are going to use this. This is just like, okay, it's cool, I guess, but who asked for this? Maybe people did. Maybe there's going to be like a bunch of people in the comments like, hey, I asked for this. Me and all 12 of my friends. Anyway. The last thing that I want to discuss here is direct streaming to standalone VR headsets, so basically like Steam Link. Obviously, we need to see what the lag is like and how it actually works before we start talking about how cool that may or may not be, but I definitely am behind the idea. So, pretty cool stuff being brought to the table there. But that's not the most interesting thing we have from AMD today. We actually have some cool stuff regarding EPYC and the amount of market share it is gobbling up. So what we actually have here is a very interesting report from the folks over at DRAM Exchange, who revealed to us that AMD have managed to increase their market share in the server space up to 2%. Now, it was only at 1% previously, and I know it seems a bit silly to be like, oh my god, a whole extra percent. We kind of need to think about the context here. Server market is multi-billion-dollar, so even though this is only a single percent, it's still potentially could be worth millions of dollars in revenue. And this particular gain was just a few months. In just a few months is what I mean to say. Now this is really important for AMD because I've kind of been talking a lot about how well EPYC is doing, how they are taking that little bit of market share away from Intel. Obviously Intel are still absolutely crushing them in this regard, but given that their market share in the server space was pretty much nil, having that 2% is definitely good. And considering that we are still awaiting the launch of the 7nm Rome, we could see it obviously continue to increase, and AMD are not just going to, say it goes up to 5 or 6% or 7%, something like that. AMD are not going to just sit on the laurels and be like, it's fine, we're happy with Intel having 95% of the market. Obviously, they're going to try and build upon that. It's all about that momentum, and just gaining that 1% in a few months after basically being nil for the last few years is just really important for AMD. This particular segment in the market, it cannot be stressed how profitable it actually is. Now, I do have a bit of a statement here, not statement, a bit of a excerpt, I suppose I should say, from the DRAM Exchange article, but of course I will include a link to the full article in the description below this video, in which they say, quote, generally speaking, Intel will remain the leader in the server CPU market. However, competitions will come from AMD, who is on pace to migrate to more advanced processors and offer solutions with better performances and lower power consumption. AMD solutions have been adopted by a small scale of cloud service providers like Baidu, AliCloud, and AWS. AMD may have a chance to scale up in volumes after 7nm products are launched in the future. So yeah, Intel is still king here, obviously, but they don't want them taking market share from them. In fact, Intel's ex-CEO was very frank about the fact that they did not even want AMD getting as high as 15%, and well, if we see them improve and climb like they have been lately, that doesn't really seem all that implausible now, does it? So, we're going to finish things up today with something from TSMC. Now, it's only fair that I bring this to the table because we just got done saying that, well, despite how well AMD is doing in the server space, Intel is still, like a giant monolith in Shadow of the Colossus towering above them. But that's not to say that Intel doesn't have its own problems, as TSMC is giving them a run for their money. Intel have, well, you don't need me to finish the rest of this sentence, but I'm going to, because, that's kind of my job. Anyway, Intel have had a lot of problems with their die shrinks and obviously just producing enough 14nm and 10nm and perpetually delayed to the point where there's repeated reports that it's been cancelled, and Intel's been like, no guys, honestly it's fine, ignore the giant fire, we're all good. In all seriousness though, they have had a lot of problems, and AMD have obviously been very keen to capitalise on it, as has TSMC. So obviously they've been busily producing all sorts of stuff, and obviously they have earned all of AMD's business for production of desktop and server processors. So AMD's victory is also TSMC's victory, and also TSMC also finds its home within Apple as well. So while Intel have had the run of the place for quite a while, and they obviously still dominate in a lot of ways, these people are definitely challenging them, making Intel sweat and look behind their shoulder like, oh god, oh lord, he coming. Just yesterday as well, I talked about how Amazon is getting involved with the series of Graviton processors for their AWS servers. And obviously that's going to be an ARM-based CPU, so you can see ARM started getting involved with the whole server market as well, and obviously we see perhaps even more for mobile and all that sort of thing. So Amazon obviously still going to be buying Intel, obviously, but we're still seeing TSMC really kind of upset the apple cart there for Intel, and obviously AMD's victory is their victory, as already said, so they're definitely looking over their shoulder a little bit. Do forgive my phone there, that was a rookie mistake because I didn't put it on silent, so enjoy that one, guys. Anyway, that is me done for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.